In this lesson, we'll continue working with our driveways and sidewalks. All right, so we have our first curb cut and entrance onto our site in place. And I see with this particular curb cut, it's not as rounded as this one right here, so I'm going to make that adjustment real quick. I want that to look a little bit better. I'm simply going to click on that arc, and I'm going to stretch this out just a bit to give it a little more curve to it. Extend and probably bring that back just a little bit. That looks a lot better. And that's one of the benefits of actually, maybe copying one that you made already. You don't have to go through that extra step of making that adjustment. So that's just something to kind of keep in mind. Now, this is a historic area here, so a lot of these houses across the street are going to have that same shared driveway situation going on here. So really, all we need to do at this point is copy what we created here and apply it to the properties just down low. So I'm going to select what we made here. I'm going to mirror that, and I'm going to use this axis to mirror it. And I'm not going to get rid of my originals, so I'll type in N, and we've got our curb cuts. So now all I need to do here is do some trimming, and we can get onto our site. So it will just be a matter of applying. We'll get our driveways in place. It'll usually lead right up to that house right there. We'll do the same thing for this side. So we'll grab it there, and we'll draw this one up, and it'll stop right about there. So now I can do some trimming for access onto the site. So I'm going to select all these guys. I'll type in trim, and bingo. So I'm going to need to just get rid of some of these. These might be my polylines that I might need to actually explode. So we can actually keep those in place for now. But we now have our curb cuts in place, and let's get rid of these guys. So now if someone's reading this, they're like, okay, this is an interesting way to access this site, but we'll have notes, and they'll also see situations around the entire site that are treated the same way, and they're like, oh, okay, this is a historic area, this is the way this was built, this is, this particular site, this is what's going on. So I'm going to copy these over, and we'll finish these on to the other side. So we'll basically go copy, we'll try to grab that in the middle. Turn off my object snap here, and we'll place like such. And again, we'll use some lines to show the driveway as they approach up in there. So I'll turn my object snaps back on, and I'm going to assume that this is coming from there. And the same thing for this one. So that positioning is good. I can actually move this one over a little bit. So we'll grab that endpoint and click and drag. And we'll do the same thing on this side. So I'm going to highlight, click, and drag and move. And now we could just simply trim. So grab this element, this one, and even this one. And we'll type in trim. And we'll start cleaning up our line work here. So get rid of this guy, this one here. Oh, don't want to get rid of that. We definitely can get rid of this line. And I'm just going to click and drag these guys to that point right there, clearing out that nice walkway. So now things are actually starting to make a little more sense, so we can actually see what's going on. I'm going to terminate those driveways at this point here. So now that we have those in place, we can now start working with some hatching to actually show that some of these areas are grass, and we can also add some thicknesses to these edges to show that these are actually curbs. So let's do that. So I'm going to do that real quick, and I'm going to assume that the thickness of my curb is about 6 inches. So I'm going to offset, we'll say 6. I'm just going to offset this line in there, this line in there, this line that way, and this line that way. And now I'm going to go in here and make sure everything's connected properly. Because a little later on, we'll be hatching this, and we'll want to make sure we have everything closed looped. I'll do the same for there. Might as well close this off as well, because we will be hatching this a little bit later. We'll do the same thing on this side. So I'm just going to do a line going to this point, and then a line going to that point. And I think we could stand to do a little bit of trimming here. Got some overlap, so I'm going to select this line, trim, And we'll get rid of this. So now this looks a little better. Now this actually looks like there's a real curve going on here. So we could do the exact same thing to these guys. So let's do it again. So we'll offset 6 inches. I'm just going to bring these inward. Like so. Easy as that. Do the same thing for this side. And this side. And we'll go ahead and close this one off like we did with the other. All right, so this is really starting to make sense now. I can start to tell what's going on here. All right, so now that we have our driveways in place, our streets starting to form here, in the next lesson we'll jump into working with hatching to represent our grass and even some of our concrete